Hey, I'm PH and welcome to Good Bible Knowledge with PhD. In this set of videos, I hope to answer common questions about the Bible in a fun and creative way. I hope these videos will be helpful for your own spiritual journey in Jesus. Let's get started. What happened to Elisha and the Syrians? During the time when Israel was at war with the nation of Syria, Joram, the king of Israel, often consulted Elisha the prophet as to the whereabouts of the Syrian army. More than once, Elisha's word was able to save the king from certain destruction. The king of Syria was perplexed as to how the army of Israel was able to escape his well-laid plans again and again, and he suspected it was due to the work of a spy in his midst. When he discovered that it was indeed Elisha the prophet, the king of Syria sent an army of horses and chariots to surround the city of Dothan, where Elisha was residing. When Elisha's servant arose early that morning, he looked out and saw they were surrounded by the army of Syria, and he cried out in despair to Elisha. Elisha calmly replied, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are greater than those who are against us." Elisha's servant was understandably puzzled by Elisha's statement. Elisha then prayed, "O Lord, open the eyes of my servant, that he may see." And at once the servant's spiritual eyes were opened to see chariots of fire surrounding himself and Elisha. And as the Syrian army descended to capture Elisha, the Lord struck them with blindness, and they were helpless before the power of God. Elisha then led the entire army into Samaria, the capital of Israel, where the Lord then restored their sight. When King Joram saw Elisha leading this enemy host, he wanted to execute them immediately. But Elisha instead asked the king to spare their lives, to prepare a great feast for them, and then send them back to their homes. And due to the mercy that was shown to them, these enemies would never again raid Israel. From this remarkable incident, we see that in our world, there are spiritual realities that cannot be discerned by the human eye. Even now, the invisible God is presently at work, protecting and caring for those whom he loves in ways that we cannot discern. And he desires for his people to be merciful and forgiving, just as he was through Jesus. At a time when mankind was resistant against Jesus, he gave his life for the forgiveness of their sins. And even now, through Jesus, God continues to extend forgiveness, peace, and salvation to anyone who would humble themselves and receive it by faith. Thanks for listening to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge. We'll see you next time.